Peter Obi, the former Labour Party presidential candidate, has criticized the recent collapse of Nigeria's national grid, which resulted in a nationwide blackout on October 14th. He highlighted the detrimental effects of frequent power failures on the economy, particularly on small and medium-sized enterprises, which he described as the backbone of the economy. Peter Obi condemned the recurring power outages as a national embarrassment and a sign of poor leadership. He compared Nigeria's electricity generation unfavorably to other African nations, noting that South Africa generates 40,000 megawatts despite having only 30% of Nigeria's population, while Nigeria struggles with less than 10,000 megawatts. Obi called for immediate reforms in the power sector to achieve measurable development goals and emphasized the need for collective action to improve infrastructure. In a separate initiative, he pledged 120 million naira to empower girls and promote education in honor of the International Day of the Girl Child, stressing the importance of supporting girls' education and planning further visits to advocate for the cause. This has been a national problem affecting everyone and me personally. The fact that there's not been electricity in most parts of Nigeria, if not all parts of Nigeria for the meantime. What do you think about this? Peter Obi has come out to say that this is not very good for the country.
It is not just the national grid that collapsed. We have leadership that has collapsed. The leadership structure. We don't have leadership because you need leaders to carry out the reforms. I'm so excited and happy to hear when he talked about reforms. But you need leaders to carry out reforms. You need leaders to fix the power problem. You need leadership to ensure that the people are taken out of darkness. You know, if you look at the scripture, I'm a Christian, I like to reference the Bible. God said, let there be light. And there was light. But in Nigeria, we are not obeying that instruction that God has given. God said, let there be light, and there was light. Why is it that in Nigeria, our leaders are not following that instruction that God gave? God said, let there be light. But Nigerians are living in darkness. We are disobeying God. We are not following his instruction. What is stopping our leaders? What is stopping them from ensuring that we increase our power generation?
Peter Obi further went on to say that there are other countries. He gave an example of a different African country that generates more megawatts than Nigeria, despite having 30% of population.
When there is a will, there is a way. There is no political will to restore our power sector. There are many people that are benefiting from the dark situation or from the darkness because they have to sell their products. You know, we have been described as a generator country, generator giants in Africa, which is a very negative brand, a dent to our image. We have a lot of alternative renewable sources of energy we can tap into, we can key into, we can harness the potentials of the sun, the wind. We have a lot of rivers, hydropower. But why is it that we continue to talk about the same problem over and over again? It's because we have a lot of ghost leaders. Why? If you've read the book Ghost Leaders, it tells you of leadership that is not available. That is, you are there, you can see them physically, but they are not producing leadership. So they can be best described as ghost leaders. They are not responding to the needs of the people. So what is the solution and the way out? The solution and the way out is that we need more leaders that are interested in the development of our country. We need people-focused leaders. We need problem-solving leaders. We need leaders that have been enlightened. You can't produce light when your mind is dark, when you're thinking about the next car to buy, the next house to build, the next money to loot, the next vacation, what you're going to steal and accumulate for yourself. You are not enlightened. So if we don't have leaders that are enlightened, we can't have a society that is enlightened. Most of the Western countries, most of our leaders go for vacation, for medical care, for when they want to have retreat. Even when they want to have political meetings, they travel to London, to US, to other parts of the world for their political meetings. Most of those leaders, they are leaders with the same one head, but they are enlightened. What is the difference between Western economies and African economies and African countries? Enlightenment. Why is it that Nigeria, for over 60 years of independence, a lot of Nigerians are still in the dark? Enlightenment. It has to do with the mind. So when we have leaders that are enlightened, when their mind is enlightened, they will work assiduously to ensure that power, see, it affects our educational sector. Many people go to school to read. There's no power supply. It affects learning. It affects our health sector. Imagine a sick patient rushed. There's an emergency and there's no power supply for a surgery to be carried on. That person is going to die. There are many deaths that could have been prevented and avoided if we have power supply. There are many businesses that have shut down because there's no power supply. There are many lives that have been damaged and wrecked because there's no power supply. There is so much of insecurity because darkness fuels crimes and criminality. A lot of criminals like to operate in the dark where they cannot be visible or seen. So we need leaders that are enlightened. And that is the beautiful aspect of this program, is that we help to speak for national development, to enlighten the people, to enlighten the minds of the people. Because when your mind is enlightened, when you are enlightened, then you can be empowered to produce the right results. We have a lot of communities. I've visited many communities. You discover that there is a complete absence of governance and leadership. The people are just left for themselves, like a sheep without a shepherd. They are left to carry out their own course. They are left on their own. They are left to swim in a pool of darkness. No presence of governance. They only remember them during the time of elections. If a ballot box can travel to a primitive village during election, development should travel to that village. Electricity should travel to that village. Educational institutions should travel to that village. Good health care should travel to that village. The people should not just be remembered during the time for election. And I think people should start asking themselves questions. Our people, our Nigerians, our citizens, we need to sit down and ask ourselves, if a politician can remember me during election, why is he not remembering me when he occupies that office, when he is in that office? Why is he not remembering to build a school? It's not just about you. It's about the development of our society. So until we have leaders that are enlightened, we cannot have a nation that has stable power supply.
And so quickly, finally, before we round up for the show, seeing as this has happened, it has happened previously. This is not the first time that this has happened, and it might not be the last time that it would happen. So what are some issues we could put in place, some events we could put in place, and actions that could be made to nip this issue in the bud to make sure that it doesn't happen or reoccur next time?
I will just quickly quote what Alistair Cook wrote in his book, Letters to America. The book was written in the 1940s. He said, no group of humans, however individually noble, will likely remain noble in the desperation of thirst. For us to rebuild, remold, restructure, restore our power sector moving forward, we must have leaders that are enlightened. We must have people that are enlightened. We must start doing things rightly. We must believe in ourselves as a nation. We must stop normalizing abnormality. Darkness is an abnormality. And it has been normalized. It has become normalized in our society today. People no longer feel that they have a right to constant power supply. We have been attached to the status quo. We have been attached to the average kind of life, the poverty kind of life, the backward kind of life. We need forward-thinking leaders. We need forward-thinking citizens. We need people that will sit down and ask themselves, why should I continue living in darkness when my taxpayers' funds can be used to develop our power sector? What other avenues can we explore? Renewable sources of energy are there. we have solar energy, we have wind energy, we have hydropower energy, we have biofuel, other forms of energy that we can tap into, that we can key into, that we can harness. We have a lot of waste, trash. If you walk on our streets, you see sachets, water, bottles, all those things, they can be useful. Yeah. So what are we doing? I read in a particular country where they're even using their waste, their sewage, their human feces and urine, and transforming it into sources of energy or forms of energy. There's so much we can do, but we continue to limit ourselves because we have not enlightened our mind and free our mind. So we need leaders that are forward thinking, and we need the people that are forward thinking. Finally, I would say we should stop normalizing abnormality, and we should start dealing with our abnormality.